Dear friends, 24th of January is declared by UN as International Day of Education. And the theme of this year's International Day of Education is recover and revitalize education for the COVID-19 generation. The International Day of Education is very, very significant for all of us at this pandemic world. In fact, as Jesuits who play a major role in the global educational arena, we decided to cooperate and collaborate with UN in reflecting in depth about the educational situation of the world and revitalizing our education. In fact, COVID-19 pandemic has led to a global learning disruption of unprecedented scale and severity. The closure of schools, universities, and other learning institutions, as well as the interruption of many literacy and lifelong learning programs, has affected the lives of 1.6 billion students in over 190 countries. As the new year begins in 2021, it's time to step up collaboration and international solidarity to place education and lifelong learning at the center of the recovery and the transformation towards more inclusive, safe, and sustainable societies. Capturing the spirit of the International Day of Education is the responsibility of every educator. So also, Jesuits in South Asia. We are running more than 400 reputed schools and educating millions of children. It's our responsibility to have serious reflections and actions on this day, especially on human right. Education as a human right. The right to education is enshrined in Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration calls for free and compulsory elementary education for all. The Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted in 1989, goes further to stipulate that countries shall make higher education accessible to all. Not only primary education, higher education also must be made accessible to all, irrespective of religion, caste, ethnicity, culture, and region. The second point we must reflect seriously is education is key to sustainable development. We have adopted in 2015, we have decided to have the 17 sustainable development goals, and in fact education is the key to all these 17 sustainable development goals. SDG 4 in particular aims to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all by the year 2030. And what are the challenges to achieving universal education? Education offers children a ladder out of poverty and a path of promising future. But about 265 million children and adolescents around the world do not have the opportunity to enter or complete schools. There are numerous children are dropouts. 617 million children and adolescents cannot read and do the basic mathematics. Less than 40% of girls in sub-Saharan Africa complete lower secondary school, and some 4 million children and youth refugees are out of the schools. Jesuits are working in the field of refugee service too. JRS is one of the largest refugee agency which helps refugee students, especially in the field of education. Without inclusive and equitable quality education, we believe that progress or success is not possible. Poverty eradication will remain a dream for all. Therefore, we Jesuits believe that education must change. We need to have in-depth reflection on the situation of education, and if need be, change the situation. For example, gender discrimination. In the South Asian countries, it persists so much. We know the gap between male and female literacy rate is so alarming for us. In India, the male literacy rate is 82.14 percentage, and the female literacy rate is just 65.46 percentage. It's very, very alarming and a sad state of affairs. In fact, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 and subsequent treaties established the right to education. The Convention on the Rights of the Child reaffirms the right to free and compulsory primary schooling and emphasizes child's well-being and development. But what is the stark reality today? The stark reality today is the rights of millions of children are violated by trafficking, labor, abuse, and neglect. Births of about 50 million of children are not registered in each year and unable to access schooling and basic services. At global level, poverty, armed conflict, unequal distribution of resources, lack of gender equity are all major constraints of economic, political, social, and cultural areas. It is said that about 1 in 4 children under the age of 5 are underweight. In South Asian countries, 60% of children in the poorest areas are underweight compared to 25% of children in the richest household. In Asia, in Africa, and in Latin American regions, girls in the poorest 20% of households are 3.5 times more likely to be dropped out in schools. The cost of schooling also is a serious concern for the poorer countries. There is no drastic improvement happened so far. Data does not show that there is a rapid improvement, even though after keeping many goals set forth to do for us. Mortality rates have dropped in many countries, yes, but uh, providing care and education for the small children that's below the age of 3 is still a dream. Nutritious foods and health care are lacking in many of the countries. And if we do not give nutritious food and health care, cognitive development in our children is impossible. And therefore, it is our duty to look at critically what are the root causes of these. And we find the root cause of these is the failure of governance. Or in other words, prioritizing what is foremost, welfare of the people, is missing. Governance can be seen as the exercise of economic, political, and administrative authority to manage a country's affairs at all levels. It comprises the mechanisms, processes, and institutions through which citizens and groups articulate their interests, exercises their legal rights, meet their obligations, and mediate their differences. Good governance is supposed to be ensuring political, social, and economic priorities are based on broad consensus in society. for the welfare of the poorest of the poor and vulnerable, marginalized, secluded groups. Resources must be equitably distributed. But we see these priorities are far from achieving in many of the governance in world over. And what is the role of education? Building awareness of the self, society, and human welfare more and more rests upon education. Education is considered the best strategy of initiating, achieving, and sustaining progress and development. Moreover, only education can mitigate disparities in society among people. I believe education is the most powerful tool of achieving what we ought to achieve. No other organization, no other agencies can change except education. Jesuit education, therefore, is best suited in educating pupils on post corona schooling. What we experience today in the market driven economies are the efforts to sell the knowledge, the education, the experience, the skills, and so on in the open market. The market mechanism is not concerns of the human angles, as it emphasizes rely on the level of achievements from the supply and demands of the marketable products and services. Jesuit education is not driven by market goals. It does not consider each and everything, including the human relations, human knowledge, intelligence, skills, etc., as economic commodities, as in the market driven economy. Therefore, we Jesuit educationists believe that education must perpetuate eternal values. It must promote a capacity to welcome social change. It must be catering to the evolution of a social change. It must help transmission of culture, acceptance of diversity of people. It must help us to remove obstacles in the society. It must increase the area of knowledge in a realistic way. It must help people to reflect, identify critically, and take a stand out of conviction. Education must help all to take a leadership role. In fact, education is the mother of all changes. It's spreading knowledge. It's stabilizing democratic values. It helps us to control and channelize and modify thoughts of new generation. In fact, our schools as a workshop for citizenship training. It must help all our pupils to take awareness mechanisms against social evils. National and international understanding has to be uh, brought in education. Equality among masses, social awakening, global citizenship, etc., are promoted by Jesuit education at this juncture. We are helping people to prioritize what is important: healthcare, education, infrastructure building, harmonious societies. And we help people to build up a new world where everyone is considered as brothers and sisters. Today, what is more important is to have peace and reconciliation. Hence, we reiterate that Jesuit schools are committed to the following points in the post-pandemic education, especially in the light of the International Day of Education. We reiterate the following 10 points. That is, Jesuit schools are committed to create a safe and healthy environment for all. We believe that schools must be a place where children must recognize their self-esteem and grow maximum. And therefore, safe and healthy environment, free from all sorts of abuses, is important for us. And Jesuit schools are committed to global citizenship. We must grow beyond these little boundaries. We need to grow into a global citizenship, global outlook. Today, in the internet world of communication, there is no boundaries. We are all citizens of this globe. And therefore, we need to work together, respect each other, and network with everybody. Third point in the Jesuit education is that we are committed to the care of creation, because we believe we are only caretakers. We are only stewards. We are supposed to leave this earth for the next generation. They also have a right to live here. And therefore, exploitation is not our aim. Jesuit schools are committed to dialogue with different worldviews, culturally, socially, politically, etc. Jesuit schools are committed to do justice. Jesuit schools are committed to being accessible to all. Jesuit schools are committed to interculturality. We believe that there are different cultures. Jesuit schools are committed to being global network. And therefore, we believe that we need to work for everyone's excellence. Competence is a hallmark of Jesuit education. Excellence is a sign of a Jesuit student. And therefore, we believe that out after schooling, still our students continue to learn. Therefore, education for us is a lifelong learning. On this day, our commitment to education is only strengthened during the pandemic. We consider every challenge is an opportunity for us to change, modify, and be innovative. The World Day of Education on 24th January is an opportunity for us to reiterate, revise, and reinvent our teaching, learning, pedagogy, and schooling. And therefore, we Jesuits world over believe that this day must be marked as an important day for us, because education is the only agents that can change the world. And we are change makers. We are accelerating that change that's needed for our society. We wish you all the best and all success on 24th of January, the World Day of Education. God bless.